I hit record.
Oh, okay.
But you said you were doing something, and I was like, okay.
And then you were talking about the headphones. You're like, I think I need to get new ones because she's 13 now.
No. I should have done that during, days.
It just bugs me during Prime days. Even though, all the controversy around that, the prices aren't actually lower.
Some of them were.
Some of them were, like the Nespresso, like milk frothers went on sale too.
Oh, I see you the Keurig one past.
I know, because they look the same, right? And I have looked at getting the Keurig one before because, I love that my husband informed me that he broke the Nespresso one. I was also going to get the little doodad that just, goes inside that apparently broke. But it did start, no longer being non-stick. Those are adorable headphones. It also started no longer being non-stick and, burning a lot of milk at the bottom in the last, 6 months. But we have had it since, 2017.
Oh, okay.
2016, 2017. So, that is totally, we didn't get a new one when we got our new machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay, eventually it'll come. So I ordered, instead of just ordering, the same one, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I ordered, the XL one. So you can make 2 coffees at the same time. But I also figured that allows Char to make more hot chocolate. It's not the hot chocolate one, which is $300. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
The Nespresso.
No, I have seen it.
Okay. I looked for that one to see if it was on sale because I was like, oh my God, if this randomly is on sale for a good price, I will totally get it. But they were all right around the same price. Within $20 or $30 of each other. So I was like, I'm just going to get the big one and see how it goes. And worst comes to where, I will return it.
I'm just I just typed in headphones on. But also, I don't know. I just get really annoyed.
Well, yeah, because headphones are a complete fucking pain in the ass. And then you got to set your budget.
Well, my other thing is I'm fine. I buy over-the-head headphones. This sounds really, first of all, problem. I buy over-the-head headphones for the podcast because it's easier to set up them versus AirPods are for personal use, and that's just how it works in my brain.
Yeah.
But we've gone through 2 pairs of headphones and we've only had the podcast for freaking 2, not even 2 years. It's been a year and a half.
That's very true. Wow, these have insane reviews.
Is it the JBL ones?
No, I just sent the JBL wasn't. These are the Anchor Life ones. These have 70,000 reviews. I'm just sending you all the ones.
I know my phone's glitching now.
Oh, I broke it. It was me.
It hates me all the time. Okay, these ones are on sale with Prime Days. Prime Days was yesterday.
Oh no, this is Hangover Prime Days. You know how they just have so they used to have Boxing Day sales, and the Brick Furniture Store has Boxing Day sales from September all the way to July, and then they'll have Christmas in July. I'm guys, give up. Call it something new. Yeah,
they're Anchor. They're Soundcore by Anchor.
Soundcore.
I don't know. I'll look into it in a little bit, but I was just annoyed. Why? Oh, it's the links. I was like, why? Also, Amazon. Genuine question. When somebody sends me a link, why does it send me a link to the thing and then it tells me what it is? I'm already looking at it.
You mean the description name?
It says that?
Yeah.
The URL and then it's the link.
Oh, my favorite is when you send those to me, sometimes I just get the synopsis, very long title. And then the picture will come as a completely separate link.
No, it is. These two are separate.
I think it's so you can copy paste in case I sent a link from Amazon.ca and you want to go to Amazon.com.
Still missed.
Oh, I know. So, functional things
also, do you know something other that's super frustrating? I don't know what is going on with your iCloud.
Oh.
But it has changed you to 2. So this one changed to the one with the orangey red hair that's your iPad.
What?
And so then it's now made a totally separate contact for it.
What the fuck?
It's gone now, but literally, it's so so it'll literally say that you're texting me off of 2 different iClouds, and I'm
which is weird.
No, 2 different contacts.
Which is weird because when I sign in, it's literally what drives me nuts about changing because I like making myself a me emoji, is in order to adjust the me emoji, I have to go in to the section where
You send it like
a message in order to change it.
It pisses me off. If that also, watch the keynote speech for Apple. How come I can't get the journaling app for my iPad?
Oh my God, I don't know why they're ignoring that request. Not just you, but like, there's got to be more people that are annoyed because like, I was like, oh, you can sit down, you know, with your Apple Pencil and your iPad and like
keyboard
journal. Like maybe you could like write things in your own way and it like cleans it up. And you have like the pictures that you can choose from. Like, I don't know, like the way that they explained what it was going to be is not how it ended up. And also only on my phone, like, I don't know if it's because I'm, like, 37 years old, but, like, I need a bigger surface.
Also, like, I don't know. A lot of journaling apps I have an issue with because I like to physically journal, but also sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to, like, waste paper or things. I'll do it online. And all of them are like, oh, like, I have Good Notes because I bought it while I was in college. And it was great for that. But on the other hand, some days it's like, oh, did you purchase Good Notes? You need to upgrade for these 3 things. You need to do this. And I'm like, just want to journal and have it like easy peasy. And if it was like the Apple one, what they said it was going to be, then it's like way more cohesive with transitioning things.
Yeah.
Every single journal app is like, oh, you like using the app? Pay $3,000 a year.
Oh, $3,000 a year. Or it's like you're going along and freaking, you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down and do this. I finally have the time to do this. And you sit down, your computer's like, you need to update. I don't want to update. Okay, fine. It says I can't open then you go open the app. It's like, this app needs to be updated. I'm like, well, obviously I got to update the whole fucking thing. And like, I'm on it at more than once a week, right? Yeah. And I'm like, how come it was this exact moment that you told me that you need it? So I'm like, oh, I'll hit the update. It's like, this will take 45 minutes. Also, like, the 45 minutes for updating your computer with Apple, I want to say that's in football time. Because it is either longer than 45 minutes or it's 15 minutes. And you've always been like, you're like, oh, I'll go unload the dishwasher or I'll go do blank. And then you come up and you're like, the fuck? It's still going? Or you're like, oh my God, it's doing this. And I've like set timers and it's like ranged so much more and it just like skips ahead or goes like, and then it's like, okay, I got to restart. And somehow it is like waking up a teenager. Like, wake up, work. Why don't you work?
Also, like, I don't know. I just get really frustrated because I'm like, it would have been such a great opportunity to evolve it. But instead, it's like you can do math in notes. I don't care about doing math in notes. I'm 23.
My theory is that they needed an extra feature to launch. And they already had that internally. And they felt that they're, you know, we'll just share this with the public now. Like, there's no way that people at Apple, like the software engineers, were sitting and doing stuff in like what a regular person would use. There's totally like, we'll do this and we'll do this. And they're like, oh my God, we need one more feature. We have to round it off. Oh my God, you know what we do? We'll just give them access to the math thing.
But also what gets me is, I don't know if anybody remembers back like in the 2010s area, when I first got my iPad in 2014, you used to be able to download any app. That's my phone.
Oh, I thought it was mine and I was afraid that I left it on.
So that you used to be able to download any app that was available on iPhone onto the iPad, and there was that little circle in the corner that said 2 times. Yeah, I made it bigger, and yes, it was a little fuzzy, but it still worked.
Yeah, that's what like Instagram was for the longest time.
And I'm like, okay, great. I'm gonna sign in with this. Perfect. I'm like, oh, I'll just download the journaling app on my iPad, but like have it as the iPhone view. No.
I was so confused because I was like, getting all my things together. Like, sat down and I was like, the fuck? Why isn't it working? Why can't I find it in the App Store? I don't know. I just thought it was like such an odd thing, given that a lot of people are like doing digital downloads for digital journals or they're creating, like you said, like apps. There's all that other stuff out there. It was like, how, like, I understand that they may be like, oh, we wanted it one way on your phone so it could go anywhere with you. But then, like, we're going to make it totally different for the iPad. Cool. I don't care if you want to make it totally different down the line. Just launch it right now.
Also, can that please make the calendar prettier?
Yeah, which one?
The Apple Calendar.
Oh, I don't use that. We just use the Googles now because the Apple Calendar is just like, it's not flexible. It doesn't do a lot of the same things as like the Apple Calendar.
It doesn't find any. It's like, are you looking for a calendar? Yes, that doesn't exist.
I know. Or it's like, I was like, oh, weird how a lot of, like, my kids in sports. So usually there's some fucking communication app that specific sport uses, like Team Snap as an example. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, well, like, can I export all the, oh no, I was like, oh, it's like, have a link to automatically attach it. And when I clicked on it, it automatically did it to an Apple Calendar on my computer only. And I was like, no, I want to fucking do it with my Google Calendar. So I did it with the Google Calendar, and then it's only me that has permission to see it. Nobody else can fucking see it. And I can't invite anybody because it's a link directly to the schedule. So instead, I had to download all the information into an Excel sheet or Google Sheets and eliminate and then recategorize everything, because when I downloaded it, nothing was in the right order, and nor did it have the right information. So I had to fix everything, and it's one of those things where like you miss one thing, and I was like, brr. Those events did not add. Fucking hell. And I was like, okay, whatever. It's not working with the Google one. Maybe I can just do it manually and then just invite everyone. It'll just be the hockey one will be on like the Apple one. Every single time I try to figure out how to import it, it says import here. And I did it and would be like, does not compute. I was like, oh, it's probably just a structure thing. Figure it out. Does not compute. Son of a bitch. What the fuck is the matter with you? Welcome to Burnt Out Perfectionist. My name is Sara.
My name is Eve.
And today,
I am annoyed.
We are annoyed with technology. I don't know. I feel like it's just one of those things. Every single time I sit down to go do something, it's like, you have to do these 15 other steps first, and then you have to do it. I'm like, I update my shit all the time. I'm not that person who, like, leaves it forever.
Do you also find that sometimes it just hides away and doesn't tell you that it needs to be updated?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I just get, like, no updates.
I'm like, I have automatic updates, but especially on like my computer, it'll be like, you haven't used this in a day. You have 23 updates. I'm like, I'm sorry, I check my updates daily.
This is another thing. Okay, so please explain to me, because I have set up everything and had it set up the same way forever. So you have like your software updates and stuff, right? What will happen is, specifically on my phone, is after there's like a huge update, I have to go to my apps, like the App Store. And then I have to go to, oh my God, where's this stupid thing? Look at that. So it says upcoming automatic updates, but they never happen.
No.
So I literally have to, like, you go to app, you click on your face, you go over, and it's like app subscriptions, purchase history, redeem gift code, personalized recommendations. And then it's like, would you like to automatically update these apps? And then I have to go in there all the time and hit update all. One time I went in there and there was 250, and I was like, I have everything. It literally says upcoming automatic updates, and they're not automating, and it's driving me bananas.
I know, it's so.
Or my husband's personal favorite. Every single time there's an Apple update, it signs everything out. And he's like, I don't know my fucking password. That's why he's really excited about that new password thing that's coming out with Apple, where it actually holds it. But he's always like, fuck. Mine is fucking Alexa. Everything will, like, if Alexa updates or Apple updates, you literally have to rescale everything. It's like, oh, and it'll always be like, you can laugh because I have dry hands. I put my dish gloves on. Can't wait to get my dishes done or like clean the fucking kitchen or something, right? And I'm like all in like full focus mode, ready to go. Got all my stuff. I'm like, hey, Alexa. So I don't activate anybody's. I will say it that way. Please put on Unsolicited Advice, the newest episode with Taryn and Ashley. Unfortunately, we cannot connect to that. What? Why? That is not part of Amazon. Okay, cool. Can you connect on Spotify? You can only connect Spotify if you have a paid account. Son of a fucking bitch. Well, okay, let me just say it really. Hey, Melissa, can you please play the newest episode of Unsolicited Advice with Taryn and Ashley on Apple Podcasts? Apple Podcasts is not attached. And then I literally have to say like that big, long, drawn-out statement that I just said. And God forbid I take a breath. Because then it's like, what did you say? I cannot locate that. Well, bitch, maybe if you sat and listened for a fucking second. And then my husband loves to mess with me because he changed the voice of every single one of them in our house. It's like I'm meeting a new person every single time.
It always changes something. It's always like an angry Irish old man.
Oh, my favorite is like,
Sarah, what would you like today?
I have the Irish girl. Anytime he tries to reset it, I always reset it because she'll be like, I don't know. She's just like one time. Oh, it was St. Patrick's Day. She's like, top of the morning to you. It's St. Patrick's Day. And I was like, why do you sound more fake Irish than I've ever heard an Irish person sound? Like, there's no draw in your words, ma'am.
It's your survive and thrive.
Survive and thrive. Well, we went down for a wedding, which was gorgeous.
That is survive and thrive.
And we got to take Eve to fun things. We got to take her to Build-A-Bear with my tiny human, which was awesome and just so much fun. And then we got freaking barbecue pork buns, which I'd been waiting for forever. Ate the shit out of them. And we did so many other things. It was just fun. Oh, I'm not going to say the other thing because I don't know if you're going to mention that and I don't be rude. Steal your thunder. And then we came back and I am so tired. Like, I am like mentally exhausted. I don't know if I was like mentally over preparing for like the wedding or events that could have surrounded the wedding or anything like that. But I was just like, I am so tired.
I also stayed up past midnight every single night.
Oh, yeah, totally did. And then it was like, what is it? The night that we came back, I think by the time I went to bed, it was like 11. Monday, I think I fell asleep at like 8:30. Or was that Tuesday? I don't know. Last night, I fell asleep at some time on the couch.
That was Tuesday.
Okay. Last night, I fell asleep sometime on the couch. I like woke up with like my hand on my face. And like, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm in pain. And I got up and I was all crunchy. And then I went downstairs and it looks like my husband attempted to unpack his bag. And then left like the explosion that was his suitcase all over the bed. And he was like all out asleep. And I was just like, dear God, where shall I sleep today? But yeah, it's just getting shit together. After all of the things. It's like I was in the wedding, but it's not a high maintenance bride. Not really high maintenance anybody. It was just like, I don't know, like, am I tired or am I just actually relaxed? It's what I always wonder. Is this how people feel when they're relaxed? But yeah, Eve, what's your survive and thrive?
I went to IKEA for the first time. It was lovely. I got sheets.
Yeah, you got lots of things.
Well, I mainly got sheets. I also got those like wicker cube baskets, and they fit perfectly in my cube shelf from Walmart, and it's great.
Nope.
So I like that. The wedding was great. It was like not too hot. It was kind of funny because like it was super hot everywhere else.
Oh my Lord.
And like we left and we drove through like 43 heat, and we made it down there, and they were like, oh my God, it's 26 degrees. It's so hot here. And then I'm like, excuse me. Back up.
We were literally like, oh my God, this is so nice. That's just totally walk to go to the coffee place. Like, this is so great.
Oh my God. So we were staying at Sarah's friend's place, and they had gone out to go pick something up.
The child. She went to pick up her second human.
I don't know. She's going to go pick up the child. Sarah's kid went with them. And so Sara and I and her husband and her sister-in-law were like, oh, we'll go to the coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
I do not jaywalk. I work in healthcare. I see what happens when you jaywalk. And so we walked one way, and obviously there's a lot of construction, and we were like, oh shoot, like, I guess we gotta go the other way. The amount of times I listened to these two complain, these two, not insulting Sara. Sara's husband just started complaining about going.
Okay, let's be honest, it was mainly my husband. Oh, my husband who's like, oh my God, I watched this. We've walked 1 kilometer. I'm like, that's fabulous.
We've just sat in a car for 4 hours.
I was so excited. I was like, wow, 1 kilometer, because I didn't have my phone on. I'm like, that's great. And we still have time to go. And then we have to walk back. Like, that's fucking awesome. And he just looks at me like, you alien.
So we make it to the coffee shop, and they're like, oh, it's so hot here. And I'm like, guys, it was 43. Like, this is in like Celsius, not degrees. And not Fahrenheit, sorry. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? We got coffee. It was great. And again, it was 26 degrees Celsius. It was a beautiful spring day.
Like, I was like, this is great. There was a breeze.
Oh my God.
There was like, and the breeze was cool.
And I thought it was great. Coffee was great. It was just like a nice trip.
Yeah.
My survive is I had to go back to work on the Monday. And we got home later on the Sunday because we had fun, like, in the pool and stuff. And we were like, oh, we'll just, like, be chill coming back. We came home, and it was probably around, I got home by, like, 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's fine. So I was chatting with our mom, catching up and stuff. And I was like, I'm just so tired. Because, you know, we stayed up past midnight, and I am a solid 10 p.m. person. I woke up this morning to go to work. And I was so tired that I was like, I don't want to be here. And it turns out, like, pretty much most of my coworkers were also off around the same time and had just come back from trips. And all of us were like,
it was a rough Monday.
It was a rough Monday. Luckily, it went by really quickly.
No.
Like, not to be super, but I was wrecked. And then I'd say probably Monday night was like, I had a shower. I went to sleep at like 9. And I was like, this is great. I woke up. I was in a way better mood going to work. It's great. I just was like, I think it was probably like the heat. Because like when it's super hot, you can't really do a lot.
Yeah.
And like, obviously you can do stuff in your house, but it's kind of like, I feel like people in like Arizona and like those like hot places will understand of like, it's like when you have snow. And, like, you can't leave because it's like negative 15.
Yes.
But it's the opposite. So you're like, you don't want to be outside too long or you get burnt or you get sun exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're like, I don't want to stay inside all the time. Or then you get, like, AC regulated. So then you're, like, going outside to take dog out and you're like...
I do really appreciate the AC when I come back in.
Yeah. And then, yeah. So mainly it was just tiredness and, like... It's just like, I don't want to be back. I don't want to do the thing. I just want to be able to, like, not have to work a lot and go to these places for a bit and relax. Like, come back.
I just don't want to do the thing.
I don't want to do the thing. Also, like, when we were down there, random fires started popping up, and I was just like, no, thank you.
I know, I literally didn't look at my phone, which probably isn't healthy, but I was just like, I don't even want to fucking know right now. Like, whatever.
I don't want to be educated on where things are right now.
Oh, yeah.
I thought we could probably go with things that make our minds go into overdrive.
Perfect.
Because I have not... I have a collection of it. You can cut this out, because I haven't read Atomic Habits yet, and I haven't listened.
Okay, I was going to laugh and be like, so I'm going to do this about this episode, but I get about 15 pages or 2 to 3 chapters in, and then I forget that I'm reading Atomic Habits.
Okay, I haven't read it.
Mm-hmm.
I think, do you have the book?
Uh-huh.
Okay, is it upstairs?
I think I have the physical book, I have the Kindle book, and I think I have the audio book.
Okay, all the versions.
Because I was like, man, if I don't like it like this, I might as well listen like this. And then I was like, well, if I listen and then read the paper book at the same time, there's like little calculations he does. I was like, oh, then I can highlight them. And I was like, well, you don't have a highlighter right now, so why should you get your Kindle? That's why I have 3 copies of it.
I read it and I read the part and I was like, that's the books that I keep on, because it's at Costco and I keep on picking up and I'm like, pretty sure Sarah has the physical copy.
Yeah.
I should have asked Laura, and I read the title that you put there and I was like, I think I should read it.
I think I took the outside off. I think it has a yellow binding and like a white book. I have a tendency of taking the book covers off.
Oh.
I don't like them. They slide. They have a weird feeling to them.
Yeah, not a fan.
Nope. Which one are you on? The one that says positive and neutral reactions? How they are perceived by individuals with ADHD? There's like, I did one that was like friends and family, and then one was more like...
Oh, wait, just have this one that's called Things That Make Our Minds Go into Overdrive.
Oh, okay.
Is that... I tried to add all of them, but it's...
Okay, sweet. Oh, yeah. So this one is... It's just like... So basically, there are certain... Like, obviously, everybody reacts to different statements the same way. But these are ones when I was actually doing research that will cause other people to kind of like spiral, whether they have ADHD or anxiety or anything like that. Versus like how other people will perceive it, where like I have friends, obviously, who do not have ADHD.
You have friends?
Oh my God, right? And I'll be like, oh my God, they said this. And they're like, yeah, so. I'm like, what do you think it means? I think it means exactly what they said. Are you sure? Because I think it may mean this. So just like the either it sounds like a positive, it's a negative, or like you're like, oh, okay, when you're like done, say, a meeting at work, and then you're like, after you're like, oh yeah, it was really great, and you're telling somebody and your brain goes, wait a fucking second, hold up. Did they just try to change the plot?
But
where's it going from there?
Like, this is what I hate, because I have a lot of meetings at work. Is there's like the way that it's delivered, and you're like, okay, is that what you exactly mean? And then every single person in the room perceives it differently.
100%.
And then you get the minutes after, and you're like, that is not what other people... Like, if you miss one, and then people catch you up, and you're like, oh, okay, wow, I'm annoyed by this. And then you get the minutes, and you're like, right?
That was like the day that I went into my work, and that voluntary departure thing went out. Mm-hmm. And I read through, and I was just like... reading it, and there was 2 other people in the same position as me who had been there for like an hour.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, did you read that email? And I read it. I read through and I was like, yeah, like what the heck? Okay, so we're going to be in a meeting later. And they're like, oh no, like there's no way that affects us. And I was like, literally says these things and our job qualifies as that. And they're like, whoa, what do you mean? And I was like, well, clearly it says, well, we did get pulled into a meeting.
Well, you literally just said, did you read the email? Obviously you didn't read it.
Well, like, that was the whole thing, and I was just like, buddy, how tired are you?
Oh.
But yeah.
And it's like, and it's also like, it's not even like ADHD responses, but it's like the way that everybody like picks out certain things.
100%.
And that's what annoys me about like physical meetings, if they don't send out minutes, is like, did you deliver it and communicate it incorrectly?
Yeah.
So now people are like, oh, I'm pissed off. And then you read the minutes and you're like, it's not what was actually like inferred, and you're like,
especially when there's that like they say that information, then your brain starts going and you're like trying to listen, but your brain is also like, whoa, this is like fucked up, like what the hell are they doing?
Most of the time I like read part of it, I like listen to part of it, and then I get confused, and then I'm like, okay, wait for the minutes. Also, to the people who don't send out agendas for meetings,
it's fucking unprofessional and rude.
No, it's just like, you know, you're like, oh, we'll have a meeting, and you're like, okay, well, what's the meeting about? And they're like, oh, well, I'll tell you that. I would just like to know, because sometimes I'm like, if it's a topic that I'm annoyed about, or like they're asking for opinions on it, I like to like correlate my thoughts first, and then be like, hey, this bothers me because of this, instead of
yeah, like, so you can actually come like prepared to a meeting, and you're not just like off the cuff, or they're like, so we need to completely restructure the department. What are your thoughts? You're like, whoa, holy fuck. What?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know this was a thing. Or when, like, say as an example, you have like those meetings that come up on your days off, and you're like, should I go? Should I not go? Is it worth it going?
And they're like, oh, we're having this really important meeting that everybody needs to be to. And I'm like, do I need to be there? And they're like, no, it's just for the people that are there.
Or you, like, it is applicable to you, but like, you can come if you want. Just fucking tell me to come or not. I don't want to make that decision. But
Oh. So the first one's, let's catch up later. I need to go over some details.
oh, Jesus. That, to me, that's like, when I hear a statement like that, of course, depending on how it's said, I always feel like I call that a professional blow-off, where I'm like, hey, like, so I have this really great idea with like all of this stuff and everything, and I think it would really help. So like, what do you think? When they say, usually I find that this will come up when like someone asks for your, like, hey, so like, what ideas do you have to like help out? Let's say if it's a work scenario, like our department or whatever. They're like, oh, I actually have like a couple ideas. Like, here's them, but like, I could go like in depth more if you wanted to. Like, what do you think? Do you think I'm on the right track? And they're like, yeah, so like, let's catch up later, and I need to go over some details. And they like walk away and you're like, the fuck was that? What was that? What does that mean? What details? Do I still have a job? That's where my brain always went.
I don't, when it says like, once I've said this to a couple of people, if they give me a time frame and they're like, hey, let's book a meeting on Monday at 2:30 where we can chat about this further. Like if you're asking me about my opinion and I'm telling you about it and they're like, okay, that's great. Can we chat about it later? I don't have time right now, but I'll book this time. I'm usually like, okay, great. If someone's like, that one doesn't really bug me as long as it's not like, let's chat about it later. I need to go over some details. And it could be like details about like the physical project as long as you give the topic.
Yeah.
If it's like, I need to talk to you, I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Let's discuss this in our next one-on-one.
I don't have one.
Okay, so what happens is like, say you'll be going along doing a bunch of stuff. So basically you're updating your manager or supervisor on any projects that you're done, like what you do every day, any concerns that you have, any help that you need. And you're just like, yeah, like, I think I'm doing really great, blah, 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 blah. Like, I really like all the stuff that I'm doing. And they're like, well, like, that's like, discuss this. Like, we'll rediscuss this or whatever in our like one-on-one. And it's like, why? Because a lot of one-on-ones are like written out. A lot of those things, like the notes on them, it's kind of like, it's like a performance check-in basically. And I know every other company will say a different thing, have a different name for it or whatever. But basically it's just like, you're only specifically talking about you and your job and how you're doing your job. And it'll be like, okay, so just to let you know, like, we have these targets. And you're like, okay, great. Well, I'm meeting all these targets. My favorite is like, how are you meeting all these targets? And it's like, I don't know, because I just do my job. Like, this is how you do my day. And when I have a job, I usually plan everything out, especially if they have a Google Suite. It's like all blocked out in the calendar. And then it's like, oh, okay, great. Well, like, we'll discuss this in your next one-on-one. And I'm like, what the fuck? Am I doing something wrong? And it's like delayed. And then you're pending until your next one-on-one to find out like whatever their freaking thoughts are. No, thank you.
Mine, I know this is not on the list, is when somebody calls you and they say, hey, can you stop by my office at the end of the day?
Oh my God. My heart goes into my gut. I instantly feel like I'm going to have diarrhea and or barf.
Mine is more like, again, just give me a topic.
Yeah, on what?
And like, if it's on a specific topic and you're like, hey, I need to talk to you about this. And like, I understand confidentiality and stuff. But if you're calling me and you're like, hey, when you're done for the day, can you come downstairs? I'm like, no.
Because I'm done for the day.
I don't know, because I'm like, what do you need to talk to me about? And when you sit there and you're like, stare at them and you're like, am I in trouble? And they're like, no, I need to talk to you about this. And you're like, why? And they're like, I didn't know, because we have like different messaging devices that are not like phone calls. I didn't know who was around you, so I didn't want to speak out if somebody was near there. And I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. But I'm like, when you send me that, I'm like, you say that to me, I'm like, I was like, did something go wrong? Like, what's going on? And they're like, nope, this doesn't actually directly involve you. This directs this. And you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And I'm like, can you never ask me, can you come down and when you're like, you have a minute? No.
That's right up with, I just need you to give me like a quick status update.
See, I feel like a lot of these don't, like, are really relatable to me because most of the time they don't. That's my daily. So, like, if my coworkers will be like, hey, I need an update on this person. I'm like, hey, this, that doesn't cause you stress. Because I'm like, that's the only way that's communication, like, everybody's on the same page and how you, like, have proper patient care is you have to do that. So, if you don't do that, then you're, like, not really doing correct patient care. So, like, yes, for documents and stuff like that and something that doesn't involve lives, maybe it would, but, like, to me, that's my daily.
Sometimes it's like, okay, and then you have all the stuff figured out and you're about to, like, do a project or, like, do a bunch of stuff and they're like, oh, can you give me a quick status update? Yeah, like, everything's going great. And then they want, like, some will be like, oh, okay, awesome. Like, if you need anything, let me know. And then other leaders will be like, okay, but what about this? Like, what about the stats? How many people are we, like, keeping and doing this? Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, so you wanted a full-blown fucking report. So it's like, you don't know.
I think that's also depending on, like, how long you've been there and your comfort level. Because if somebody asked for more detail than a quick status update, I'd just be like, hey, currently don't have that amount of information that I don't know the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
So, or, like, this is the first time I've been on this, my first day. Let me consult with the people who have been on it for longer and stuff like that. So, like, to me, that's not, like, that wouldn't cause me stress, or that shouldn't cause, like, a lot of people stress in my field, as long as it was, like, you were being truthful, because that's what you can all really do. And all I can just say is, like, if I'm completely honest, I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be like, I don't know, how in depth of a report do you want? Is what I've said before. Like, how much do you want to know?
I know. And sometimes I'm like, hey, how about I send you an email with a bit more detail, as currently I am on the direction for this. We'll circle back to this after the current project.
To me, that, like, doesn't bother me as long as the, it's like one of those things that all depends on, like, the tone, but it's like, what I would always do is I would just, like, write it down somewhere, like a calendar thing, be like, okay, this is, like, the estimated date that the project was supposed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, okay, remind blah, blah, blah that we were talking about this after the project had completed.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you can move forward with it. So it would just be, like, an extra memo that I would put in there. And then if I thought of anything else, I would, like, write extra details within that calendar invite.
Mm-hmm.
That would just be mine. Like, it wouldn't be public that other people could see. And I would have stuff there just in case. I know, like, other people where they're like, now this is pending in my brain for the rest of my life. The worst is, like, when it's pending, they're like, oh, we'll circle back after the project. You're like, it's actually, like, kind of related to the project. They're like, oh, yeah, but we want to focus on this part first and then do this. And you're like, but I can see where everything fits. Can we just talk about this now? Like, for, like, 15 minutes? That would be great.
I don't really... We'll talk about this after the current project. Like, a lot of the time, it's like a case-by-case basis, so it's not like when I circle back, I'm like, oh, can I let you know in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
It doesn't bug me because it's, again, that's like building positive communication with your coworkers, but that doesn't bug me.
Can we, I'm going to skip over one and go to, oh, let's revisit this conversation in a few days.
I feel like that's the same thing as, like, let's chat about this later.
Yeah, it's like, it depends on, like, what the context is on the situation. Because say it's, like, a disagreement with somebody that you've been working with, and they're like, well, let's, like, circle back on this in, like, a couple days. And you're like, okay. Like, are my feelings validated? Did I say enough? Is there anything else I should do?
I feel like, unless it's, like, directly impacting your job and, like, your job satisfaction,
yeah,
that's frustrating. But if it's like, can we circle back this in a couple days? Again, doesn't super relate to me because, like, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever, don't care.
Yeah. So these ones, so the next ones are like unspecified timing. So the other ones that we just went through, I totally missed it, there was titles, is like vague future discussions, cause a lot of folks, like, anxiety, or they just feel like they're pending, like you're just like locked in pending mode trying to figure things out. So these ones are like category 2, which is just like an unspecified thing in general.
I'll send you a quick update on that. I don't know why.
To me, it's not stress. It's like, I'll send you a quick update on that. And then you're like sitting there like, when am I going to get that update? Because I need it. Usually it's like, oh, okay. Especially if it's like an immediate thing that like needs to be done before like the end of your shift. You're like, holy fuck, when are you going to send this to me? Do you know when I'm done today?
I guess to me, if you don't have that proper communication, then, and like that level of honesty, it does impact like patient care.
Yeah.
But if it's like time dependent on like certain steps to follow through with, then I understand it.
Yeah.
Like I'll get back to you quick. But it doesn't, like, most of the time people are aware and they let you know.
Oh, yeah. I think it all depends on, for a lot of these, it'll all depend on like the person whom you're talking to, like that leader and that leader's specific style. And like, I'm going to continuously say throughout this, like whatever the context was based on it. So like for this one, it's like, I'll be in touch soon about the next steps. You're like, okay, whatever.
Cool. I'll touch on you the next steps. Cool. I can't do anything until you tell me the next steps.
Right.
So I feel like a lot of these two are like, obviously there's like the anxiety portion of it, and like there's very different like trees of businesses and like how businesses are run and like how you communicate with those businesses and how long you've been there for.
Yeah.
But if you're flat on, so if someone looked at you and said, hey, I'll let you know the following steps soon, I'd like them to go, cool. I cannot continue with this project unless I am made aware of those steps.
Oh, yeah.
So is there something else that I can work on while I'm awaiting that email?
That's why I liked a lot of those like project management things, is I would just like drag it back into like pending. Mm-hmm. So that way, like mentally and like visually, I was like, okay, pending. And then I would like write notes and tag the person and be like, pending, waiting for information from blah, blah, blah. And like if they ended up actually giving you an estimated time, which is like so much better, and being like, should be here from them at this, and then that way they can see it and it also like gets added to their thing. Then if they're like, how come you have all this stuff pending? It's like, well, I'm waiting for all these freaking people to get back to me before I can do other things.
Yeah, I think it's more of like a communication thing than anything, because if you work at a big, like obviously the difference between like working in a big company versus working in a small company,
yeah,
the issues are a lot different. Like at working at a small company, it could be like you have less people to communicate with. Bigger companies, there's a lot more people that are included, so the lack of communications usually happens quite a bit. But if I'm like, hey, in order for me to do my job, I need this person to do their job.
Oh, yeah.
I don't feel bad going, hey, Zach or John needs to do this prior to me doing this. And if they're like, oh, well, you need to do this, it's like, well, I've already completed those steps. I need this in order to continue. Because as soon as you're like, oh, well, I don't want to throw so-and-so under the bus, you're not throwing them underneath the bus.
Yeah.
You're making your, like, manager or, like, leader aware that you are unable to complete the next steps because they've been passed to another person.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be like, hey, this person hasn't completed their steps yet, so I can't continue. So they're not like, oh, Eve didn't do her job.
Yeah. Eve, I'll need to run this by you the next time that you're free.
I'm never free. I usually respond with, and I just send them to me. I'm like, do you want to do it now? Or I'm like, hey, can we do this at 2:30?
That's always me. I'm like, I either give a time or I go, I can make free time right now. I'm walking over.
I'm like
no.
I usually flip it on them. I'm like, I can really mold my day to assist with this, and I think this is an important topic to talk about. So whenever you're free, just give me a call.
Oh, yeah. So category 3 is request for reminders and follow-ups. And I'm going to ask this one to Eve. Can you make a note to remind me?
It's my entire life with this family. Yeah. Eve. I need to order it from the store. Eve, I need this. Cool.
You're like my human Alexa.
A phone. Or, like, my personal favorite. If you go to this store, can you purchase this for me? Hey, Sarah, so I went to the dollar store, and I grabbed this. Oh, my God. I didn't even know this existed. You asked me 4 months ago to get it for you, and it's the first time I've been here.
No. Eve, the next time you're at the Dollar Tree, can you grab me mustard, the deli-style mustard that I love? I need, like, 12 bottles because it was during the pandemic, and I love mustard, and it's my favorite mustard, and it wasn't at mine.
It's deli mustard.
Deli-style mustard is delicious. And what did Eve do?
About 12 bottles, because you have 12 bottles.
So then she calls me and goes, oh, so like when you get here, like I might be at work, but I bought your 12 bottles of mustard. It's in a bag. I'm sorry, what? You bought me 12 bottles of mustard? Oh, yeah, 12 bottles, just like you said. I'm like, I was joking around. What? Hey, I was just like joking around. Like, I feel like I need a dozen bottles of mustard. Like, I literally just bought you 12 bottles of mustard. Okay, well, like, I used all of them. I'm on the final one.
No, I bought you more. Remember? You asked me to go.
No, I'm on the final one that's from my cupboard.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that. I'll follow up on this after I get back from my trip.
To me, that is the best, most satisfying feeling in the whole world when I'm the one saying it. Like, I'll be like, I'll follow up on this, after I get back from my trip or like after my days off. And some people are like, I need to know now. And bitch, I took PTO. You fuck off.
See, when people say that, unless like we can see everybody's schedule and like we know people's schedules.
Yeah.
If I don't know how long you're gonna be gone for, I'm gonna be like, do you need me to remind you?
Well, that's the whole thing. Is like, do you need me to remind you? That phrase came up a lot when I was looking at stuff, and I was like, really? Because like I'm very much like that. Oh, good for you, Barbara. Taking time off. Good for you.
I usually ask like, not like in like a you need to tell me. I'm usually like, oh, like, unless you don't want to share, like, are you doing anything fun?
Right?
And they're like, oh, I'm going for here. Oh, that sounds like so much fun. And then when I see them later, I'm like, oh, how was your trip to Vegas? And they're like, oh, it was great. And then I'm like, did you? And they're like, I totally forgot. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I'm not going to ask you. People who message when other people are on vacation.
Rude. People who message within seconds of you coming back from vacation to give you a full download on everything that went on, or they come by your desk and you're like, my brain is barely braining right now. You can't give me a fucking day just to like get back into the groove.
Oh my God. Or you have 4,000 emails. Excuse
me? What? Oh, I'll swing by your desk later to discuss, or I'll swing by your ward later to discuss with you. And they just see you see them walking. They've got their clipboard. They're like talking to other people. They're like, I'll swing by later just to talk to you. Okay.
Sure, if you can find him.
Sure, if you can find me. It depends. To me, that depends on like this setting. Like if you know like a shit ton of people are about to get canned, or like some crazy shit went down, and they're like, I'll talk to you later. And you're like, does that mean I'm scot-free?
Oh my God. It's my favorite thing. We're going to have a meeting about this later. Okay, doesn't talk about it in the meeting, but everybody else is aware of what's going on.
Okay, and then so I'm going to go to category 4, which is ambiguous statements. Some of these ones I was like, oh, son of a bitch. Let's put a pin in this for now. That is the most professional way of saying, shut the fuck up and move on, in my opinion.
Okay, let's put a pin in this for now. I was like,
can you imagine if you were like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I just thought of the best idea in the whole world for Overwhelmed. Here's the cute things, whatever. And I was like, we should just put a pin in it.
Until you screw off. And I do.
Exactly. And you do it anyways.
But like, to me, if you were like, let's put a pin in it, I'm usually like, why? Like, I'm like, not to be a bitch, but like, I'm the one designing. So like,
why?
And if you're like, oh, I think this would be a lot better during like these months, and you gave me like a justified reason of like why, I'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds better. And then I just put it in my calendar as like, hey, this idea that you have probably around here. But you're like, let's put a pin in it and be like, Sarah, no.
Yeah. Or my next favorite is, I need you to keep this in mind.
My mind's already working. I don't care.
Well, my whole thing is like, oh, why do I need to remember and do this? I don't remember and do this thing.
And the next one's request and instruction. Why can't you focus during meetings? Why do you care?
Oh, yeah. Like, why can't you focus during meetings? How do you know that I wasn't focusing?
Yeah.
Have you asked me questions to verify that I was paying attention? Like, what happens if my nose was running? I was just wiping my nose. Or, like, what?
What if I had to sneeze?
Yeah, like, what made you assume that I was not paying attention? You need to pay more attention to detail.
See, my favorite thing to respond with is, where in the documents provided or the standards is it specifically detailed of what I'm supposed to be looking into, as I have requested for further detail and you have failed to give it?
I have said stuff like that before, or it's like you need to pay more attention to detail, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, so can you give me an example of when I did not pay attention to detail? And they're like, well, just like the way you do projects. And I'm like, which is there one specifically? Oh, well, I didn't like the way you did this. Okay, so what specifically about that did you not like? And it's like, they didn't like the font. Or they didn't want it in an Excel sheet. They wanted it in a Word sheet. I'm like, cool, so why didn't you tell me that when I was doing it?
This one I can send me. You need to improve on your time management or prioritization. When did you last work my job?
Yeah. When were you mean?
Well, this is what gets me is, so like, obviously I work in healthcare and mine is based off of patients or clients. If I spend 45 minutes to an hour having to do my job because of outstanding circumstances, but it provides an elevated quality of patient care, I will do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had, like, coworkers or management past go, do you know how to prioritize? I'm like, yeah, but also, if I can provide a better quality of patient care, which then leads to the patient having a better outcome or a better, recovery, why am I looking at them as a number versus, oh, they're doing really well now. They feel heard. They're more open to doing that. Why? Your time management. Yeah, if I'm taking 2-3 hour lunch breaks, my time management is poor.
Yeah.
But if I'm actively making sure that that my quality of care is better than most, why do you care?
My favorite was, I always could like anticipate when they were going to be like, what do you do every day? That to me is like one of those questions where you're like, what the fuck do I not do? Like, you want me, like, how much do you want? So like what I did at one point is I had this like time and motion study. So basically it's like you have like the days that you work and the hours that you work. Mm-hmm. And you can, Google Calendar's really great because like they actually have it where you can categorize things and it'll give you the stats. Like you can pull them up and everything. They used to not have that. So I did this in like a Google sheet. And I would put like how many hours. Then I had a column that would automatically calculate the percentage and it would show all the stuff. So that way if they said, what's the thing that takes up most of your day? At any job I was in, I could be like, it's this. How can we make it more efficient? I would suggest the following, but I don't know if that will significantly improve it. But this is a suggestion that I have. So that way it's like very clear what's going on.
I also find that if somebody says like, what do you do during the day, there's like a learning opportunity for it too.
Yeah.
So if somebody's new and they're either like around the same level as you or they like collaborate with you a lot.
Yeah.
It can be good of like a way for them to set boundaries and know who to go to. So if I was like, oh, Sarah, what do you do for the podcast? And if I was a new employee, you're not in. And I was like, well, what do you do during the podcast? And you're like, well, I edit the podcast. I'm also like one of the hosts, and I do a majority of the social media and stuff like that. And this is what I do. And if I was like, oh, my name was Stacy, and I was hired, and I was like, okay, so Sarah does this, and Eve sets it up, and she records it. And okay, so if I have a question about the setup, I'm gonna ask Eve.
Yeah.
But if I have a question about the editing style, I'm gonna ask Sarah. So then it's like, then you're not asking
the wrong
question.
Yeah.
But I also feel like on the flip side, if somebody was like, what do you do during the day? And I'm like, oh, I always go, oh, well, I provide this. And they're like, well, I don't see you doing that. And that's like, well, because I choose to do the editing of the podcast Sunday night.
Yeah.
I don't text Sarah unless she just remind her.
Sometimes I'm like, oh shit, I forgot it's Sunday. I usually just set an alarm on my phone.
But I also get like update emails of like, so I have all of the emails and I have all of like pretty much everything on my phone. So
do I.
I'll get like a security thing that'll pop up and I'll text her and say, you did? With a screenshot.
Always.
I'm like, she doesn't tell me. And I'm like, why are you logging into this? And I just like to make sure if it says like, sometimes Apple's like, you're located in the Yukon. And you're like, no, I'm not.
Mine said last week I was located in Prince George. I'm like, I am not.
So I was like, oh, is this you? And, or like, what did you...
Yeah.
Like, I'll send that, but it's not like, what are you doing? I'll be like, why are you logged? I thought you were already logged in. What's going on?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, send this off. Great. But I'm not like, Sarah, it's Sunday? It's Sunday. Did you get the podcast? Do you this? So back in the day, whopping year ago, when we first started the podcast, Sarah and I split both businesses in half.
Uh-huh.
We would swap social medias monthly, like who would be in charge of them. And it was this. I'm gonna be honest, didn't work.
It didn't work, and we figured out that it didn't work
because we learned that Sarah enjoys. It's easier for her to do the editing. Well, it's not easy for her, but like she does the editing and then she can make content at the same time.
Yeah.
And so then it wasn't like getting mixed messages of like content. And then I think it was about November of last year, Sarah texted me and said, I gotta be honest, I can't do this overwhelmed stuff anymore. Like the social media. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, why? And she goes, I just don't know what to post. And I was like, that's totally okay. But I was like, sweet, do you want to do this? Like, because we were doing like, she did it 1 month, I would do the other, keep swapping and stuff like that. And she was like, I can't. It was mainly with social media, because social media, there's so many things.
There's so many things. That's why I majorly focus on the ones that end up getting like a lot more traffic, and they're a lot less frustrating.
Yeah. And so we figured that out. Obviously, big companies, they don't do that. But I was like, now it's not like, oh, did you do this? That's fine. Like, obviously, I'll go into, like, our analytics every once in a while because I'm just nosy.
Okay.
Or I'll look into those things, but I'm not like,
I do the same thing.
Sarah.
I go on the site, look through the site.
You didn't
have to feed our brother soon.
You didn't email me regarding, you didn't send me a message that you were going to post this.
Oh.
We were never like that.
No, we were never like that.
Unless I was like, Sarah, address is in the background.
Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. I can't.
But it was like when we were doing like testers, like how to order and something, I was like, the address in the background. Oh, shit. Like those two things, most of the time, I just go through and go, oh, she posted, like, done.
Yeah.
And like when we do lunches for Overwhelm, she's like, is everything done? I'm like, yeah. Or I'm like, I don't want to do anymore.
So like, out of all those things that were said, or if you have a new one, what's like one of the worst things that can completely make you spiral that someone can say? Say in like a professional setting.
Can you come down at the end of the day?
Mine.
Or you come see me at the end of
Oh yeah, mine's either like a random meeting that gets booked in your calendar and you're like, what the fuck is this for? And it's like with somebody you don't know. But one of the worst ones that will like literally make me feel like so invalidated is like when someone goes, oh, like, what can I do to help you? And you're like, you know what? I would really appreciate the following. and you're already doing like all this other work and stuff like this, and they say one of the followings after you're done like explaining things to the best of your ability, whether you have an emotional response or like you're just listing the stuff off to ask for help, and they say, it sounds like you kind of like overloaded yourself with stuff, versus them like recognizing all the hard work that you've done.
I do that to you sometimes. I feel like definitely there's a lot of learnings. I feel based on my field, I can't really talk about a lot of things, but with owning businesses and stuff, I feel like there's so many little things that you figure out, and then you're like, oh damn it, I gotta communicate this.
Yeah.
And like, it's hard to be like, oh well, I know how to do it, it's just easier. It happened with the like business. I was like, it's fine, I can just do it later. But it's when it's like that and you're like, well, we've gotten a lot better at being like, so Sarah, I understand you're really excited about this theme, but as per the design document, we have 57. I think we need to take a step down and like maybe reassess.
Yeah.
And it's not like, how dare you do all of this work?
Yeah.
But it's like, maybe we can utilize this in other ways.
Maybe just name it another time.
Because
oh, sorry, I was going to say, like, the other thing that would just, like, severely gut me is when you're done explaining everything and you're like, oh, feels great. Like, I finally took the time to ask for help, because, like, it's hard to ask for help sometimes. And they look at you and go, well, that was quite the tangent that you went off on. There you go.
and it's like,
And you're like,
you asked.
and you're like, what? Well, like, I mean, like, you went off about that stuff, but, like, what can we actually do? And you're like, I just fucking told you everything.
I think also that's like with the preparation thing of when someone signs up for a meeting and they sign you up for a meeting and they didn't talk to you about what the topic was first.
Yeah.
You can't like assign. And you're like, well, currently I'm going through like my raw feelings of describing what I need.
Yeah.
But if I was given a heads up, I could probably provide you with some like reasonings behind it that could assist with that.
Oh, yeah.
Also, it's just like knowing your like business person or knowing this. Like if Sarah texts me and goes, I dropped this, I did this, I broke this, my kid's crying, I don't know why, my husband's not doing this, I know not to be like, oh, Sarah, you didn't do this.
Sarah, do better.
Oh, no, I got it. You do everything in the world. But you missed this. If you ever want to make me stress or anything that is like, okay, well, I organized the world, I made sure everything was right, but you didn't do this. That was your job. And you're like, but I did the rest of this.
Yeah.
And I was not told that I need to. Well, as per this, and they pull out a random document, you're like, I have never seen that in my entire life.
Or they're like, you do something and say you're like helping somebody.
Yeah.
It's not even like a job. Like you're helping somebody and you're like, okay. And you're like, okay, we got all this stuff done and blah, 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 blah. This is great. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And then someone walks in and goes, oh, it's so different. Yeah, it's clean. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you have like one of those like immediate responses, like, yeah, it is different. But like, this is what we've done in order to make this work. Oh, well, this might take a while to get used to. And they like walk, and you're like, did I do this thing or did I just fucking wreck everything?
I also feel like there's a lot of like, even aspects of life of like when you clean things or organize things. Like we were talking about professional organizers earlier today. And how some people will have a professional organizer come in every year. And I'm like, but that means that there wasn't proper systems in place. And I think there's the like function. It's like the same thing with work. You have your functional time that you work on and your organization for other things. That might not work for you. That might not work for someone else. And having the ability, and it takes time with, especially with whatever job you have and the people that you work with, to be like, I'm comfortable enough to be like, in a professional way, like, that is not my job.
Yeah.
I'm happy to find the person that is that job, but please do not put that load on me when I know it's somebody else's job.
And my favorite is when someone used to call me for like a project. Hey, so we have this really great project and blah, 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 blah. And I would be like, I really appreciate you offering me that project, but I don't have time to do that right now. I'm doing these other projects. And then they'd be like, well, those ones don't matter. This one matters though. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm going to continue to do my project. And then if I knew the person well enough, I would literally I don't want to do it. Like, I'm allowed to say no. Are you making a face? What?
We're shows things. Yeah. Also, my favorite thing. So we got a new system. Where was the meeting about the new system?
Yeah, who'd you consult with to get this system? Is there training documentation? How do I learn about it?
Also, training documentation.
Why is it not a standard thing?
No, why is it not fun? Like, why is it so, boring?
I made it fun.
And most of the time, like, if we were ever, knock on wood, one day, if our businesses were ever to expand, like, our training would be so much fun.
Yep.
Hey, everybody, this is your About Me page. I require your coffee order. And then the first day you're like, hey, just keep using Stacy. If your name's Stacy, you're great. Here's your coffee order. I heard that you really like this. Like, what are, like, some ways that you feel like is better? Like, this is your role. This is kind of what your role's going to look like. We don't have somebody in that role right now. So, like, feel free to give us feedback. This is what we expect from you as long as, like, how you do things. But, like, please know, like, if you need anything, just contact one of us. And any business, there's always, like, one person you feel more comfortable going to than the other. If they're like, man, I don't like going to Eve about this because she's really controlling. Okay. And then you go to Sarah. But if you're like, man, I feel like I need that, like, part, I'm going to talk to Eve. 9 times out of 10, we're probably talking to each other anyway. Or we're like, hey, since we've expanded this new role, we found out that we've wrote this part. Oh, we thought we should just share it with the class.
Son of a bitch. It's so funny because you keep using that name as an example, and my brain just goes, Stacy's mom has got it going on.
But I feel like having that, and that's like, everybody's like, oh, well, that's just corporate. Like, it doesn't matter what field you work in. It doesn't matter what businesses you work in.
Doesn't matter the size.
Unless you, like, try, and they're like, my biggest thing that pisses me off, especially with some of these, is when people don't communicate that. Or they don't provide their suggestions and then they're mad about the outcome.
Oh my God.
Like, my number one thing that I have always stated is, like, how can I be frustrated with something if I didn't vote on it? If I didn't exercise my right to vote, this could be in any sort of thing, the survey, anything like that. Mm-hmm. If I didn't exercise my right to vote or do any of that, why am I complaining of the outcome?
Oh, yeah. If you're not providing a solution to something when they're asking for things, then shut up.
Like, literally, why?
That's literally why. And that's the whole thing is, like, I've done it where someone's like, oh, like, we really want to do blah, blah, blah. And I've literally turned around within 24 to 48 hours and been like, hi, you asked this question in this meeting. And these are things that have actually been, like, pending in my brain that I was thinking would work really great for it. And then I've, like, supplied, like, a 5-page document with suggestions that are categorized with examples from other companies and sometimes with data analytics. And they're like, oh, I never saw it that way because, you know, maybe we had a specific platform that showed them how to do this thing and it says everything was fine. I'm like, it says it's fine, but it's actually not. So, like, if we changed this thing or adjusted this, maybe it would make it better.
Although it's, like, the way that people respond to things. Like, if I'm like, hey, this is messed up, and they're like, well, it took a lot of work to get here. And you're like,
I know, it's all about, like,
I'm just telling you.
It's tone of voice. It's the person who talks to you, stuff like that, right? But there's just some of those things. I know, I fucking hate that. Like, or can you call me right now? No. Why? Because I read that message and I go, my brain. That's what my brain does.
9 times out of 10 now, if I'm calling you, it's usually for something that would be too long to text. And my voice note is, like, kind of glitchy. So I'm like...
Or you're like, I'm laying down in bed and I didn't want to text. I just wanted... I was just going to talk to you. Or we're both cleaning our rooms at the same time. Perfect. That's just FaceTime the whole time. But yeah. Send us in any of the things that are your like statements that make you go, ugh, or oh God.
Give you the iggly wiggly.
The iggly wigglies. Like when the teacher goes, okay, so we're going to have a surprise quiz. What the fuck? Why? When? When is this quiz? At some point. Why? I don't want a surprise quiz.
We're going to read out loud.
Oh, there's one of the ones that made me go, no, thank you. And I would like,
you'd plan out which one was going to be yours.
Yeah, plan out which one's going to be yours, and then you read it a bunch of times. Or there's like a word that's like over like 10 to 12 like letters. You're like, fuck. Or one of them.
I always ended up being the one that had like the like longest possible words, and everybody else is like, it's usually social studies class or like English class.
Yeah.
It's like, the dog jumped over the bridge, and mine would be like, the feral amphibian. And I'm like,
why? Why? But yeah.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah. We might do another one of these, which is based on just like friends and family versus instead of like from like a career aspect like today was. But yeah, please like and subscribe and share on the YouTubes,
Instagrams,
the TikToks,
email.
Also, please feel free to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any of the other wonderful podcast platforms that we are part of.
And always stay work and twisted as ever. Peace.